A number of schools in Uganda, both at primary and secondary levels, have hiked their fees ahead of the start of the first term in a fortnight. The increment runs counter to the Education Ministry's directive barring schools from making any adjustments as the cost of living crisis rages on in the East African country. The schools say the impending fees hike are triggered by the current inflationary pressures, and as a result, parents who have not been spared by the cost of living crisis will have to dig deeper into their pockets to give their children an education. Now, let's bring in Mr. Geoffrey B. Rahiru. He's an educationist and a school owner at the New Hope Secondary School, Kasenge, in Wasiko District. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for this important topic concerning school fees in Uganda.
Absolutely. Now, reports. Can you hold on? Let's just start the conversation with the reports that some schools in Wakiso, Mukono, and Kampala have increased fees from anywhere between 100,000 shillings and 600,000 shillings. And this is despite the government's directives. Did your school also increase?
We have not increased the school fees, but we are really suffering. It is a terrible situation, and it comes about as a result of increases in prices of foodstuffs, and also some government policies that are very confusing. For example, the science teachers in government schools were given an increment in salaries. So for that matter, to attract an equally high quality teachers of sciences, you must give them a reasonable pay. And for that matter, you must go back to the parents to be able to negotiate for an increase in salaries, I mean in school fees. But of course, the government is trying to solve a problem, but it is only using a wrong means of solving this problem. You cannot control what you can't measure. They have not measured the cost of running a school in a private environment. And as a result of that, you cannot again try to control the school fees. Otherwise, there is a general problem, yes, of increasing school fees, and parents are suffering, and even the requirements that are needed. By the way, you can find someone going to school with items as if he's going for an introduction. You know, here in Africa, we have what we call an introduction. When you are going to introduce someone to be introduced by a lady of whom you want to marry, various things that you carry. There are some schools you find the items they are carrying are really very many, and you may wonder where they are going. But again, there is a problem. Now, the government would come in, first of all, to harmonize salaries. They can come in form of giving subsidies. Government all over in a situation where you have a mixed economy, where you have allowed some private individuals to run businesses, and there are also government institutions in place. In that dual situation, if the government wants to intervene to solve a particular problem, like in this particular case of increasing school fees in the education sector, then they would come in with a subsidization of the education in the private sector. For example, paying teachers, like now they have increased the salaries for science teachers. They would do the same for science teachers in private schools. That would be a more viable approach than trying to cap school fees, trying to control the private person from trying to fix his own school fees. Subsidization would work better. There is also a problem of increasing prices of foodstuffs. How can this one be solved? And in case you offer some subsidization on food to the private schools, then in that case, you can be able to help the parents whom you are trying to help as government, because they have run to you that they are really dying of school fees, which is a fact. But again, the intervention is not by controlling the investor controlling the
Mr.
school administration
Biraheru,
without measuring what problem they are going.
Yeah, can
Yes,
you help
sir.
us understand what the things are that cost these private schools the most? What do they spend the most money on? Is it feeding the kids, or is it payment of salaries, or running the school generally? What exactly would you say are the things
First
that?
of all, the payment of salaries is a tall order. And remember, as I've told you now, they have increased the salaries of science teachers, which means the private sector must also try to cope up to be able to compete and attract the best teachers. There's also foodstuffs, especially when schools have a boarding section. They must be able to feed them. Prices have gone up. At one point, a kilogram of portion was at 1,400 shillings, but now it has gone to 4,000 shillings a kilogram. Now, that one more than doubles. And as a result of that, if you find that you have fixed school fees, then you get a problem to be able to pay the salaries, to be able to also undertake development. Remember, the Ugandan government has introduced a new curriculum, and you must get some laboratory equipments. You must get new sets of books, and not forgetting what I've already told you, that you must pay teachers. Now, these expenditures are too much on a school. And by the way, some other schools are renting. Some private schools are renting their premises where they are located. And if you are paying rent, you are paying the teacher, and government is again competing by increasing the salaries of the teachers, and you must attract quality teachers. For example, in the private schools, we have to attract science teachers. I'm personally a science teacher, and I'm in the private school. But inside there, you feel like a temptation to really cross to government. Those are some of the costs that are too much. And the intervention of government would be to subsidize on these vital services. Some of the people are investors. They have invested in buildings, in the infrastructure of the school, and they must recover these costs. They must recover them. Of course, no one goes into a business for a picnic. He goes to make a profit. Like government, it also tries to collect taxes. Again, these private schools are subjected on the payment of taxes. We are asked to pay taxes to government, and these taxes are high. Now, the subsidization would be on that, in looking at the tax policy towards private schools. That would also help. And then subsidization on the wage bill of the teachers, especially the sciences and even the arts. And then in that particular case, after such an intervention, then government would come in to discuss with the private sector on how to go about.
All right.
Yes,
it seems like a very tricky situation there. The schools need to make money, at the same time students need to go to schools. We hope that the education ministry in Uganda is able to find some middle ground, with these private schools, and with the parents who need to pay these school fees. Thank you very much for your time, and we will be speaking with you again as soon as possible.